Okay, let's break down another transition. Let's watch the whole thing through to get an idea of what was created. We get a clock and then a guy, and then it transitions to his mouth, getting gum, and then band-aids, and then a little mint symbol. Okay, so one thing that's important about this is this is synced to audio. I'm hitting command and then scrolling, and you can hear the audio. So when you're timing stuff out, use command and scrub to hear where the audio is, okay? And you can just bring in audio like any other layer by importing it in the project. You can just right-click in an empty space down here and say import file, and just bring in an audio clip, and you can just throw it in as a layer down here. It's probably at the bottom. I like to keep them at the bottom. And we can see its voiceover here is the only audio clip that shows up. If you hit LL, you can see the waveform of it, okay? If you want to preview the audio in real time, you can use the preview button up here, okay? And let's get all the effects. If you only see that little bar, click and drag this down. And we want to make sure that from current time is on. Otherwise, it'll start render previewing from the beginning of the entire project. And we don't want that. If we want to RAM preview with the audio, we can click that, and it'll start from wherever the scrub marker is. We can see it's RAM previewing it. If we just click it again, we can see that it's going to preview in real time. So you can scrub, command click, or you can use RAM preview to hear where the audio is, okay? All we have is a square transitioning to a circle, so we scale the square down to a point that we can transition to the circle. If we hit U, we can see the keyframes, and it transitions to a circle. We can see that we have masks that are animated. So we just scaled the mask itself. We didn't actually scale the entire shape. That happens later down here to the right. So we can see right here is where the mask is animated. It transitions from one to another. The square gets scaled down as the circle mask gets scaled up. Okay, so we're just animating two masks, square into a circle. And then the clock hands are just separate layers that are scaled up. And then we change the pivot point using the pan behind tool up here to get them roughly where they need to be, so that when we rotate the clock hands, they'll rotate appropriately. Okay, we can see that these are 3D layers, and the hands are parented to the clock mouth, all right? And the clock mouth is just being rotated around its Y-axis. All right, we can see those keyframed animations there. So as that happens, all we're doing to get rid of the clock hands is we've just ended those layers right here. See that? They just end where they need to end. Over one frame, boop, they're gone, okay? And then what transitions on is a pre-comp of a guy. We have a clock track mat. All we've done is copy and paste the mask of the clock there. Okay, so we can cut him out. If we didn't have this, we can toggle switches to get to that option. We say no track mat. We can see that he isn't in the circle anymore. So we have created a track mat. Oop, wrong one. Alpha mat. And he lives in a pre-comp because he has a bunch of layers. We don't want to see his arm, his hand, his head, his hair. We don't want to see all those layers here. So that's been sent to a pre-comp called breath checker. And we're going to get into character creation later, okay? And then we have a flourish called a round circle. We can see the shape layer by the star. It's a shape layer. And here are those keyframes, all right? So it just rotates. That reveals the character who's in a pre-comp. He does his animation, we'll get to later in another one. And then it transitions with the color of this circle changes. You can even animate color, right? So we have an effect. We have a fill effect. We'll double click it to get it up here. All that is going over to here to fill. in clicking and dragging that either here or on top of the layer itself. Okay? So we don't want to, we don't want to fill it again. And all we do is animate the color. So I wanted it to go from that white background to black, to be the inside of his mouth. So we just did a rotation animation, the same time we're changing the color, and we are transitioning to his skin color by animating another mask from one background color to another, right? We can see that right here. All we're doing is animating a mask to get this, okay? So we're just going from one background color to another. And what creates interest is doing all of these very simple things. Animating a mask is very simple. But when you layer things up and you do things at the same time, you can create really interesting transitions like this, okay? And it just takes a little time and creativity to think how to do this. All right, the tongue itself, the tongue is just a mask, an animated mask again, okay? We can see that green outline and we can see the keyframes here. All it is an animated mask. That's it, okay? And then the gum and the Tic Tacs here, those are just pre-comped assets because we didn't want, you know, each layer, the gum, the dark gum, and those are just masks, right? That's all that is. And same thing with the Tic Tacs. Those are just pre-comped so we don't have to have all the layers in here. Okay, and you can see each one has a track mat above it. And you can see the icons indicate that, okay? Those track mats are for later, that when it goes inside, it'll be hidden like it's going inside the mouth. Otherwise, if we didn't have these track mats, let's just turn one off, we can see that it just goes out. So we have to create these track mats to hide things that we want. That's another reason why to pre-comp things, so you can track mat layers all together. And then that just scales down and then a new asset pops on and then we have these mints come up, one after another, okay? That's the same animation, just repeated. So let's jump into how that's created. Okay, we have these mint on pre-comps. Let's jump into one. So we've made one pre-comp and we can see that we just copied it and then flipped it. You can flip something by scaling it in the negative. Okay, you can see I unchecked the chain link so I could do this separately, and then all I did was just rotate it a little bit and scale it in the Y to flip it to the other side. Okay, so it's the same pre-comp twice. Let's jump in. We have 4 layers of the one asset I made in, I happened to make this in Illustrator just because it had a couple extra colors and things. It was just a little quicker to do in Illustrator. And so you can see I moved the pivot point down to the base. Here's the pivot point. I'll move that down here. And all that's done on these, it's the same animation for each one. It's just offset by 2 frames. Let's see. It's just offset by 1 frame. So it's the same animation repeated, but then just offset, okay? It's just scaling up with an overshoot. Remember overshoots. Scaling up with an overshoot. And they're rotated permanently at different angles. We can see 91, 69, different angles, okay? 49. And that's one asset repeated, one animation repeated, and then we repeat all of that pre-comp again to get mirrored sides, okay? So that's how all of these transitions were created. Thanks for watching. Use this as inspiration and to create your own layered approach to creating transitions with a lot of appeal. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.